mean, you look through all the Bible, all the supernatural stuff that happens, and yet we just think that doesn't exist today.
Yeah.
We just don't think God's capable of doing any of that. And it's just like time. Like God created time. Time doesn't exist, but yet we hold to it like everything in the world. By the way, the icon just hit the corner in the back.
Oh,
It literally just
I
hit
did
the
not
corner.
see that.
It literally just hit the corner. I was so excited. Seth, are you okay?
Oh my gosh.
You need carbs!
May thy knife chip and
I said empty your mind.
there is beauty in imperfections.
And if you feel it,
Are you watching closely?
Yes, this is great.
Let's go. All right.
Boys,
Howdy, howdy. I don't know why I'm saying howdy. I should say something Minnesotan or something.
Hello there.
Oh, hey there.
oh, hi there.
Hey, you want some hot dish?
Welcome to our virtual studio, guys.
Love it, dude. You guys are both in Minnesota?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like 5 minutes from each other.
Nice.
Yeah. I was curious. Did you guys get snow? Like, there was that one point where Florida had snow and Minnesota didn't.
It was like North
Did you
Florida.
guys-
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Like real, right on the Georgia
Yeah.
line.
Where are you guys in Florida?
All right, right outside Orlando.
Okay.
Pretty opposite ends of the country here.
yeah.
It's beautiful. And
All right. Zach, who are these people?
Well, we've had some ninjas sneak into our podcast today.
sneaky.
Sneaky.
Oh, yeah. So today we've got the number 32 comedy podcast in America, also known as Cool Carl or Sunday Cool Teas. Today we have Ninjas Are Butterflies on
We're here.
our podcast with us.
Thanks for having us, boys.
It's amazing.
Welcome,
Yeah.
guys. Do we have
Such an honor.
like an applause in our soundboard somewhere?
I deleted our entire soundboard. I'm sorry.
Dang it. There we go.
There's automatic soundboard when I logged in, and then I deleted it. I'm sure people are wondering how we got the number 32 comedy podcast on our
Yes.
small little podcast.
No idea how that happened.
Made a lot of money.
Zach, you have had a connection with these guys for a little bit now.
I have.
Explain
Yep.
what you do for your fun time, I guess. Your
Yeah, what do you do for your fun time?
I was
Hey, well, I guess in regards to the connection here, so in November of 23, actually, is when I started
year
it.
and a half.
Well, to go back a little even farther, I think. It was, my sister was actually the one who introduced me to you guys. And it was just her birthday yesterday.
Nice.
So happy birthday, Emma.
Hey,
Hey.
happy birthday, Emma.
Happy birthday, except for like it'll be out in 2 weeks, and so then it's gonna be way past. But
Yeah.
Still counts.
It's okay. Emma's worth celebrating.
Happy birthday 2 weeks ago, Emma. So she introduced me to you guys while I was just like house sitting. So I was alone for a good amount of time. So I pretty much just like binged all the episodes of the podcast you had. And that was like July of 23. So I think you were around like 50 or so at that time.
wow,
And then in like November of 2023, my sister had just told me that she thought the one part in your podcast in your Thanksgiving episode was funny, where Lily was like, "This is a Thanksgiving episode," and Josh was like, "We're thankful that that's not in our backyard." Then I was saying, like, man, someone should start a quote page for Ninjas and Butterflies, because back in the day there was this podcast called Church Stories. I don't know if anyone's familiar
Yeah.
with Church Stories.
Mm-hmm.
But someone had started a quote page for them. And I was like, wow, that's a cool idea. And someone should do that for Ninjas or Butterflies. And then my sister was just like, well, you could do it. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
there's nothing stopping you.
So then I quickly, using Canva is what I've used for all of these, because Canva is just one of God's greatest treasures.
Oh, it's the best.
The graphic designer in me is aching when I hear
Yeah.
that.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Anyway, I quickly put that one up, and then I had started working from episode 1 on doing quotes, and I kind of realized that that'd be a lot. So then I just kind of started keeping up with your weekly ones, and at first I was kind of like off and on with it if I'd have a quote every week, and now I'm not even that up to date. I think I'm like a week behind right now, but
Well, as of today.
for a while I'd fallen off on it, and then I came back, and then after posting a quote, like I forgot what the quote was. It was like, "Stare at the sun, kids," which was a quote from Andy. And then you put that on your story, Andy, and I'm like, oh, these people see me.
They're aware of my existence.
So then so then after that point, I stayed a bit more on top of it. And then one day I messaged Andy over here. I was like, Andy, hey, would you want to be on our podcast at some point? He's like, yeah, that sounds cool.
Heck yeah,
So-
dude.
And then
We
we're
were so grateful for it. It was so funny because we always create our own content, whether it's memes or whatever. And so just that people started taking, when you started doing that, we just thought it was hilarious. So
Yeah, it was
you're
awesome.
killing it.
Oh, thank you.
We love when fans interact. Well, I don't know how much you guys know about the One Eyed Film podcast, but we just a bunch of friends who like to talk about movies. And so whenever we have guests on, we like to ask them two questions, similar. I kind of stole it from Blurry. But what is your favorite movie? And then what do you think is the best movie? Because those are two separate questions in my mind where you can have like your favorite that you go to when you're feeling down, your guilty pleasure, and then like what can you respect as like one of the greatest movies that's been made.
Mine's crazy. Probably not very vast because both of my movies come from 1994, which is sad. But it's actually the year I was born, but it's one of the greatest years of cinema history because literally there was so many great movies. But Dumb and Dumber is probably my favorite film of all time. I think it's a comedy film. And then I would say Shawshank Redemption is the best movie that I've ever seen because I never get tired of watching it.
Yeah.
Both not funny.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah.
It don't have to be
Titanic 2, whenever it comes out, that'll be my favorite movie. But for now, it's Shawshank.
Oh,
Yeah.
About the submarine?
I was just gonna say I did see that there was a movie in the works about the submarines.
Great, dude.
I mean, a short movie. Don't hold your breath.
Oh,
Maybe.
that's the tagline.
I think my favorite movie, it's a toss-up. It's always been, or since it's come out, is Interstellar.
I was gonna be my
yeah.
guess.
But a good, like, go-to movie that I love, I want to just, like, feel like a man is Northman.
Oh,
Haven't seen that one.
It's pretty gnarly.
A man who just pillages.
Yeah, he's just
oh
a
yeah, I did
Viking,
see that.
just guts people.
Yeah, I did see that one.
That's what men do.
Best movie, I think, visual masterpiece in my mind is probably just the Dune movies.
Oh,
I was gonna say you guys talked a lot about those.
Yeah.
Those are really good. I gotta respect the Interstellar pick because that's one of my favorites, and I think it's up there on Zach's list. But
It's just too sad for me.
it gets you in the feels. I actually had it in my wedding last summer. As my wife walked down the aisle, was the cornfield chase, the dramatic version.
Wow.
Or the orchestral version. It was really beautiful.
So you were the corn and she was chasing you.
Oh,
My best man heard it and he was like, "This is so beautiful." I'm like, "We're at the rehearsal, dude."
that's awesome. What are your guys' favorites?
How the turntables. Actually, it's very ironic that I want to do, or that we're going to be talking about National Treasure today, but I will watch National Treasure like every day until I die. That's my guilty pleasure. It was my childhood favorite. Back when my dad actually brought us to the lake that's in the second movie, and he's like, "There was a movie filmed here," and then we watched the scene. I was like, "Oh my gosh, we were there." And then just the treasure chase and the action and PG fun that it is. It doesn't have to be gory or anything. Like, that's fun for me.
There's still a Declaration of Independence.
That was actually in our first intro when we started, because it was one of my favorites. And then best movie, I still think that actually I want to say one thing to make Zach mad.
Don't do
I
it.
really like Tenet, but I
Don't. You are not going to call Tenet the best movie right now.
No.
Okay.
I enjoy Tenet a lot. That would probably be somewhere in the enjoy the one of my favorite movies. But best movie, I would probably say Interstellar. It's one that still manages to wow me every time I watch it. I went and saw the re-release in IMAX last fall.
Oh man,
That was good. That was so good.
So bummed we didn't do that.
I feel like there's more true IMAX down south too. Like, we have a regular IMAX, not true. Anyways, yeah, probably National Treasure and Interstellar. What about you, Zach?
Well, my favorite is actually Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I love the heck out of that movie.
Yeah.
I remember going to see it in December of 2018 when it came out,
Yeah.
And I just kind of saw it at that point going into the theater, like, this is just an animated Spider-Man movie from Sony. Like, how good is it going to be? And then I left that theater entirely blown away. And now it's like every time I watch the movie, I like it more.
Yeah.
Love all the characters. The story is great. The animation is perfect. Love that comic book style. And yeah, everything about that movie I just love.
Is it true that I heard that the third one is coming out in 2029? Is that true?
Yeah, that's the latest information I
What?
heard. I think
Really?
that might be
Yeah.
true.
What
Yeah.
are we doing?
I
I
don't
thought I
know.
saw 2027, but yeah. They just picked directors.
Even the third Avatar is coming out this year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it took forever for the first one. Golly, that's so dumb.
The original release date for the third Spider-Verse movie was March of 2024. So now seeing it pushed all the way back to like 2027 or 2029 is just ridiculous.
That's cool.
And I don't know what's
Yeah.
happening.
I get it. They have to get all the actors in one place and they have to shoot the scenes and stuff. It's difficult.
They have to perfect the script and all that too. But
They've set such a standard for themselves.
yeah,
But it's also tough because there's so many other movies and things that are taking so long regardless. Like they feel like they need to reach a bar that just takes so long. TV shows are taking, how long has it been since Stranger Things season, was it 4th that was most recent?
Who
And they're
knows
working on
at this
5.
point?
I think it's going to be like 3 or 4 years.
I've lost interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've lost your audience at that point.
Yeah. And also they're like so much older. That's the good thing about animation.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want, but like these like you have like 30-year-old people like play like I'm in high school.
I'm in high school now, so
This is believable, correct?
Mom, can you drive me to my date?
Yeah, it's weird.
Oh my
and
gosh.
for best movie, I might have to agree with Seth and say Interstellar,
heck yeah.
just because it's visually stunning.
No, I choose Interstellar as well. That's what I was. That's what I also think.
Yeah. Run it back. Replay when you said what the best movie was.
Interstellar is probably my favorite film of all time. Y'all need to watch Shawshank Redemption again, apparently, because it's the best.
I know. Yeah.
I haven't even seen that one, so I gotta go watch that.
But I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with 1994 just
Too
because it
busy.
literally like it had Pulp Fiction, Forrest Gump, it had Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, and The Mask, which Jim Carrey's year was insane. And
Oh,
there's just so
wow.
many more. Like Lion King came out 1994, and there was so many
Oh.
good movies that came out that year.
You know 1994 well, I guess.
Yeah, I know everything. I know all the facts. Jeffrey Dahmer also died that year, so which I think he died 2 days before I was born. So
You're reincarnated.
that makes me wonder. Makes me wonder.
Reincarnated. Welcome back.
I'm hungry, dude.
Uh-oh. Welcome back, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Hey, whoa. How about looking to the future? I wanted to address your thoughts on Superman because we have been greatly looking forward to James Gunn's DC reboot. But you guys, a couple episodes ago, it was right before we first tried to record. You were like, man, Superman, I don't get it. So I want to hear your thoughts. I don't want to just hate on him without.
Dude, I'm always stoked for superhero movies, especially Superman. But from the trailer, it looks like they're just trying to do the whole Marvel thing, man. It's just like the what's his face? Who played Batman?
Cavill. Oh,
His name?
Ben Affleck.
No. The
Christian Bale?
Dark Knight.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. Like that type of DC universe is dope. Where it's just dark and grungy.
It's realism. Like it's
Yeah.
like this stuff could legitimately happen
Yeah.
with a mastermind, some vigilante. Yeah,
I thought Man of Steel was pretty close to that.
I loved it.
Yeah. But this one I'm excited to see it, but
Man of Steel was good.
also don't have my hopes up because it kind of just looks Marvel-y.
Yeah, to
Which
me,
I do love the Marvel movies, but they kind of got a little out of hand.
yeah, because you add so many characters, and you have to have so much backstory. And I'm like, if this is a new Superman, and I don't know where in the plot it is, if it's already established that he is Superman, or if this is the origins. It looks somewhat origin. So in the trailer, they just have so many different other superheroes that I have no idea, or villains, and it's like, can we not just get back to the good old days where it was literally just what's the bad guy's name?
Lex?
Bald guy, Lex Luthor, and Superman, and that's it. And it's
Lex
just
Luthor.
them battling it out. And I just don't. We overcomplicate it. We add so many things, and it's just good guy, bad guy. That's all we need. And then you add adventures or journeys throughout that, but it just seems overcomplicated. But I think it's going to look good. I like the more wholesome style of it. because with like I think it was like what was it, Suicide Squad or Batman versus Superman, it was like very dark and
Yeah.
everyone was going after Superman, stuff like that. I'm glad to get back to like the wholesome, good role model type of Superman that he was, and then just kind of balance that. So, and I like that they're pulling a ton. I don't know the comic books, but every comic book nerd that I've seen on Reddit or whatever, they're happy with the trailer because of the comparisons and stuff. So I'm hoping it's good. I love James Gunn. He did great with all the other ones. So I don't know. I get antsy with all the, because you're right. Like there's the DC realism, real stuff that could happen, and it makes it feel dark and gritty and real life. And then you have Marvel where it's like, okay, everyone's going to survive. Like it's no matter, like you have a floating island. Everyone's going to die. No, they're not. They're not going to die. Everything's going to work out. But yet in like Dark Knight, you have judges being blown up and, terrible things happening to all these people. And it's like, that's just real life.
So it's kind of the stakes that you're thinking about. What are we risking here? If you know that everyone's going to survive at the end.
Yeah. You got to be able to believe and buy into the character and stuff. So it's just, yeah, if I know everything's going to work out, then I'm like, why am I invested?
Sure.
Yeah.
And you're not a nerd, are you, Andy? Like, it sounds like you're more of a casual viewer.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, especially with comic books and stuff like that. I'm not a nerd at all like that, or Star Wars or anything. I love watching movies. I love the cinema.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Zach and I are excited, but more because we are nerds. We'll admit that.
You're hopeful about it. You're feeling good about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zach, do you want to say something?
I'm so excited for this movie. In my personal opinion, to slightly disagree with you, Andy, I'm kind of glad they're stepping away from the dark and gritty. Seth and I have both been very vocal about how we disagreed with Zack Snyder's take on his DC universe.
At least with Justice League.
Yeah. And I mean, Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. And I will say Man of Steel, as we said on the podcast before, is a good movie, I would say, but it misrepresents Superman, in our opinion.
Hey,
That's why Superman you're talking about.
Sorry. I believe that Superman represents, hope and light and all that. And Man of Steel wasn't the most hopeful of movies, and neither was his Superman in Batman versus Superman. So seeing this new Superman in the new trailer, it's kind of, he's got a lighter suit and he's
got the trunks back,
looking up to the skies, and he's got the trunks back. He's meant to be more like, I mean, even in interviews, he said that he's the one who chose to bring those back to kind of be, just so he doesn't look as intimidating to children, and so he can be just kind of like an inspiration like that to them, like a wrestler would be, I think is what he said, like that. So seeing a Superman that is more hopeful gets me excited, because I think that takes it back more to its comic book roots. And I'm struggling to, or not, maybe not struggling, but it does look a little overstuffed by the trailers, just by all the other heroes that they have in it. Yeah. So that makes me a little nervous. But it sounds like kind of the plot of the movie is Superman coming into a world where heroes already exist. I think he's kind of meant to already be established as a hero to some extent, but also just kind of coming into this world and showing these heroes a better way than just the way that they're doing it. So the trailer has me really hopeful, and I'm super excited.
True that.
Yeah.
Yep, we're nerds. That's about all I got.
I can rant longer, but
I know you can. So, wanted to get into the meat of the episode, and that's National Treasure.
I love meat.
My favorite. Every homeschool kid's favorite movie. I mean, I was homeschooled, and we just have an affinity towards American history. I've been called out for that before. Excuse me. But the lore of National Treasure reminds me a lot about what you guys mainly end up talking about with secret history or lost history or something like that. Secrets that our government keep from us, like Area 51 or whatever. I just think that the stuff that they bring up, even if it's fictional, is fun to think about. And
yeah, they pull from something. It's definitely, there's some truth there, because or else it wouldn't, relate to so many people, or, it's definitely out there.
Yeah. But the one thing that I think can tie into our Christian faith is the Masons. And I don't know if you guys have heard of or listened to The Exorcist Files.
Yeah.
They've been on Blurry a couple times. Yeah. So there was an episode on the Masons that got me interested because of my familiarity with National Treasure. And it was like, the Masons aren't just a club, or they're not like the Lions Club or something. They're just, it's deeper than that. And it's interesting that they made that out to be the case in the movie, and yet doesn't really, the truth doesn't line up with that. And of course, sometimes they just said, oh, George Washington was a Mason. And I think he was, but
He definitely was.
they're just like, they're all a part of this club that's trying to be to hide the treasure, which that wasn't their goal. I believe the Masons are darker than that. And it's just interesting to think about, does that impact our legacy as a Christian nation if that's true? And I know there's some parts of the movie that are true, like who was a part of the Masons. Like I've already said, the Masons were real and probably didn't hide a treasure, but they used that as a storytelling device. I don't know. There was conversation in that Exorcist Files episode about like, what do we do with this knowledge, knowing who's a part of the Masons and what their goal is as a group.
Hey, just for our casual listeners, real quick, can you explain who the Masons are?
Sure. In the movie, at least, they were the treasure hiders, the ones in the government who were keeping the treasure away from the British, and that they needed a group to do that for the story. But when it comes to what the Exorcist Files revealed and what is actually the case with Masons is that there's some demonic things happening, and that there's rituals to get into to be a Mason. And it's just not all, like I said, it's not the Lions Club. It's not just a fun party of guys.
It's not a little frat boy club.
No,
Yeah.
no fratting. And so with that knowledge, do we change our view of these people in history of our American history?
I have.
do you disrespect our first president, George Washington, because he was a...
I don't disrespect him. I'm just like, if he wasn't, I mean, he definitely, there's stories I've talked about before where they talk about George Washington, that he was a Freemason, but he was adamantly against the teachings of Christ and the concept of Holy Spirit. So a lot of these Freemasons, a lot of our founding fathers, they were Christian, quote unquote Christian, but a lot of them, especially Thomas Jefferson, which that is the Freemason Bible, is the version of that Thomas Jefferson wrote. He didn't write it. He took out all the parts that had to do with miracles or the Holy Spirit. So he believed in the morality of Jesus, but he didn't believe in the divinity of Jesus. And to me, that's huge red flags of the founding of the country and the trajectory of where we are now. I mean, you can kind of see it. Like, it's like we haven't gotten better. It's just like we've almost replaced one evil with another. And it's just a great deception, I feel like, of just like, oh yeah, well, we don't have slavery anymore, and we don't do this and we don't do that. And it's like, women can vote now. But it's just like, well, now look at what we have. We have a nation that has all these abortions, that is at turmoil constantly, this huge division, this hatred, this bigotry, it's insane. And it's like that I just think where we started as a nation with our founding fathers was good in the sense of freedom, but there's no Christian morality with it, you know? Or I would say there's morality with it, but it was not founded on the divinity of Christ and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, when the foundation's not there, you can say whatever it is, but if the foundation isn't Christ, it will crumble over time or whatever. It'll crack through. And so, yeah, that
we've gotten a lot of pushback on our podcast when we talk about Freemasonry. They're like, you guys don't know what you're talking about with like Freemasonry. Like, my dad's a Freemason, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, if you really study Freemasonry, you know that there's 33 degrees in Freemasonry, and you don't get into the creep not of God stuff until you pretty much hit the 33 degree. Like, you can go in and just observe a Freemason lodge and be like, this doesn't seem very awesome, kind of freaky. But the real Freemasonry, what they believe in, is all based in the occult. It's all based in opposing Christ, opposing God of the Bible, and its roots go so far back. I mean, we've talked about to like the Rosicrucians and the Knights Templar, but where the Knights Templar were studying the occult, like within Egypt and different parts of the world. It's just like no bueno. All of it's no bueno.
Yeah, it's scary almost to be like, oh, it's not all that we thought it was, or at least what was in our history books or not in our history books. Should this have been taught to us, or is it being hidden for other purposes?
Yeah, my great grandfather, he was actually a 33-degree Freemason, and he built one of the oldest Freemason lodges in Florida in the 1800s, pretty close to us. And on his deathbed, basically, he repented and like basically spilled the beans, like Freemasonry is not of God, it's evil. And he's like, and I don't want to go to hell. Like I want to, so he like accepted Christ on his deathbed, but he was professed Christian, would go to church as this Freemason, but it wasn't until his deathbed he was basically like, it's not good.
Up until that moment, he was probably like, just like all those other people, like, just take it easy. It's not that deep. It's not right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start joining. I'm gonna get to level 33 as an experiment.
Don't do it, Andy.
Well, I don't know. Did you guys know too that shout out to all of your Mormon listeners?
Yeah.
Hey,
But Joseph Smith, he was a Freemason,
I didn't know that.
and he actually, I don't know how he did it, but the story goes that he fast tracked to the 33-degree Freemasonry.
He bought the fast pass.
he's got an accelerated program.
Exactly. A lot of the rituals that they do within the Mormon temples are based like total copyrights of what they do in the Freemason temples, like the rituals and stuff.
Wow.
And I've been to the temple in Salt Lake City, and the symbolisms all over the temple are Freemason symbols. Like you have like the shaking of the hands, the honeybee or the hive, and just like tons and tons of stuff like the compass, the all-seeing eye. It's wild.
Yeah.
So Mormonism.
Am I right?
Am I right?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the storytelling of using Masons and the all-seeing eye and such in the movie, but when you start researching it or listen to that Exorcist Files or some of your episodes, like those things come to light and you're like, is this going to come out of my favorite movies now? Like the more I know about it, I don't think so. It kind of relates to other things about movies. Like we're all about watching movies with discernment, making sure we know the good versus evil in the movies. But what is your line? Where are you going to allow it to actually say, all right, I'm done? I don't think that the writers of National Treasure were like, hey, we're going to make the Freemasons down to a understandable level for others to get in on it. And then I don't even know what the Masons' goal is, but I don't think that was their goal. I think it was a storytelling device.
I mean, you can go like super deep into it and be like, oh, it's all like Hollywood. The whole thing is just try to numb everyone to everything. But there's also just like fun storytelling. And it's just like, as long as you do your own truth digging and like have your plumb line of Christ and pursue Christ and everything else, you can kind of just discern. I love National Treasure too. I think it's dope.
Well, that kind of reminds me of one of our most popular episodes, which is called Horror is Biblical.
See? Horror is biblical.
No.
Start watching horror movies, dude.
I told you. No, it's obvious where the good and evil is in those things instead of trying to hide it. I don't know. You should have listened to it by now. That was part of your homework. I'm sorry if you didn't. I was thinking about the whole idea of National Treasure and how the belief that Patrick has, Gates's Senior Gates. Yeah. He's always saying like it's myth that is just a distraction from the real thing. Like they made it to keep them busy and then they could win the war and all that. And I was listening, or I was reviewing this episode when you had Alberino on and talking about drones and stuff. And I was like, that's kind of the same thing of like, is this a distraction? Is it straight up lying? Is it something that got leaked that shouldn't have been known to the public? It's like, it's supposed to hide the truth. And that's seems to be, the more I listen to your stuff, the more research that I do, it just seems like there is a lot more. Like I'd be interested to know how much that we know now versus what is actually true in the government. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would. Oh, go ahead.
No, I think it's if it's all orchestrated, stuff like that. I mean, there are people that orchestrate so much. And so every little, whether some part of it could be a social experiment, some part of it could be a distraction, some part like, so if they implement something, they're probably gauging a lot of different areas of society, whether, it's how we react or how quick people are to talk about it, or whether they care or not about it. And so I think I don't know. I think there's just a lot of playing, just a lot of plans that are, being put in place just because, they're trying to get their own agenda across or whatever that may look like. So I don't know. That's the terrifying thing, is that are we feeding into it just as much as they want us to? Like, oh, these podcast people are going to eat this up and it'll be great. And it's just free. It's just free advertisement, free marketing for whatever their viewpoint or agenda is that they want to get across.
More like free psyop. Because that's what I truly believe. Like, I think we know so little about what's really happening behind the scenes, like very little. Even myself, who like deep dives into so much stuff, I probably know like maybe 5%, or I think I know 5% of what's happening. But I always tell people, like, if the news is promoting anything, or if there's a story that's constantly going on the news, like if you just look back at history of like what the CIA has done with like Project Mockingbird, and like just this whole psyop and just propaganda control, like control the narrative, always control the narrative. So the fact that the drone stuff was on the news so much, I'm like, they're doing something. They're controlling the narrative somehow.
They want us to talk about this conspiracy and what's going on. You know, like,
so I don't know.
Well, and it's weird to have lived through something that I think is pretty obviously, once you get into the space of accepting conspiracies every like little bit, as Blurry says, Bigfoot is the gateway drug. Eventually you start accepting a few more things, but like living through it is like, they fooled me. I don't want to get into the truth or lies of COVID, but it was
all a lie.
It was the truth was hidden in some ways, and the fact that we were sheep more or less in that those few years. And then the whole 6 feet apart and masked thing being connected to other occult things was really scary when I learned about that. I think I listened to Blurry before you guys brought it up, but that's just
and when it comes to a point where if you reject something, if society builds up a viewpoint where if you deny that what we're saying is truth, then you're a conspiracy theorist, you're a bigot, you're a racist, all these things. Like, that's like, I don't understand like how people don't see that. It's like, whether I believe that or not, we still should be free to question whatever. And if we get to the point where you're labeled something just for questioning it or wondering about it, it's like, that's such a dangerous society to live in. It's like, that's just, that should be common knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, you should never just like, you can get it like, oh, all right, that's not mine, but you shouldn't just bash somebody or, throw them out just because they have a different viewpoint, or maybe they are questioning and maybe kind of like looking at all the details. And it's like, maybe they'll end up exactly where you're at and understand that they were wrong. But it's like, we got to be able to just look at it from a different perspective and, and be able to communicate however we want, just because it's out there. That's literally what America's about, is freedom of speech. And if you start getting in trouble for that, then I'm like, that's a bummer. It's wacky.
I still think what's so crazy too, just talking about distractions and how quickly the general public forget things, is the alien sighting that you guys have talked about on your podcast that happened
Miami
last January.
The Miami aliens. Yeah.
Oh yeah. The mall.
Just how little that got talked about and how quickly it was forgotten by our general public. There was some sort of portal or something too, wasn't there? Or am I mixing up stories?
That was the rumor. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they said it was like one person said that it was like a Navy test or something that they were experimenting. It's like kind of like the Philadelphia Project, where they like are able to like access this portal or something. It sounds absolutely insane, but it's very strange that it was just dropped and there's no video of anything.
Overnight it was dropped. And so it makes you wonder if like, okay, like you're just logistically, if you're thinking you're Miami, you're the news people down there, you're law enforcement, you have 100 police units show up to this mall, you're going to get in a helicopter, you're going to start videoing this, and it goes viral for a night. And then suddenly no eyewitness testimonies are being interviewed the next day, no video coverage at all from the inside the mall, and you had thousands of people there. You had hundreds and hundreds of cops. How is that possible? And it's like, I'm not saying there was a portal. I'm not saying there were aliens, but just like you're making it seem like there was something weirder than just a couple kids with fireworks, apparently is what they said. And I'm like, that's baloney. That would be, that'd be huge news.
Yep.
Like that would be like, and people would be bashing the teenagers and people would love that. But it's like, if you don't have proof of that though, and it is something else, and it's like, yeah, you're going to want to shut that up real quick. So strange, man.
And I know this is probably a shock to a lot of our listeners because we just talk about movies, man. We don't do the conspiracy thing. But I love this crossover with the, secrets of ancient history and all that. But I think I keep referencing Blurry. I've been binging Blurry creatures for a while since since Zach introduced them to me. But they talk about, Nate brings up, or maybe it's Alberino who brings it up, who's like, if you believe in the Bible, you've already accepted that there's extraterrestrials. Like there's a lot that you should be at least considering and questioning with the things like the mall in Miami and other sightings that just we brush off because there's not aliens. But there's no basis to that. Like come to your own conclusions, and that's what you were saying, Andy, about being able to question things. And I've questioned things in the last 6 months as I've learned a lot. And but I believe that the Christian faith helps with that instead of hinders that. Like there's a lot of things that have been made clear that work with this stuff, I think.
I mean, you look through all the Bible, all the supernatural stuff that happens, and yet we just think that doesn't exist today.
Yeah.
We just don't think God's capable of doing any of that. And it's just like time. Like God created time. Time doesn't exist, but yet we hold to it like everything in the world. By the way, the icon just hit the corner in the back.
Oh,
it literally just
I
hit
did
the
not
corner.
see that.
It literally just hit the corner. I was so excited. Seth, are you okay?
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I think it's just, I mean, and also when you look at movies, I mean, we're talking about all this stuff, but anyone who's listening to this podcast is a fan of movies. And the more we talk about these things on podcasts, I'll just watch something and I'm like, oh, they're like in a way referencing this fact in history, or it's just always in our whole blood, like in our DNA of just what we write and what we look at. And it's all in history, and it's so repetitive. It's kind of crazy just how obvious it is to people who are making movies and stuff. And yet there's Christians I know that don't even give aliens or anything supernatural even a thought. And it's like, whatever, cool, live in that world. That's fine. But it's like, that's just crazy to me.
Do you believe Jesus died and came back to life? Well, yeah. Okay, well then that's pretty.
That's insane. That's insane, dude.
That's outside of nature. Yeah.
I mean, the mountain transfiguration. It's like
that's the crazy.
Elijah and Moses, were they ghosts? Were they physical being? Like, I mean, what?
Just brush by that one.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Samuel and Saul, Samuel's ghost visiting him.
Yes.
That goes into the whole ghost thing.
I'll be right back. I gotta pee real quick.
Yeah, you're good. This is it. This is what happens.
It wouldn't be a Ninjas or Butterflies interview if I didn't have to pee. So
yeah,
that's okay.
Stay hydrated. He doesn't need to hear this.
It's just everything you want to say without him.
He could take his AirPods to the bathroom and he'd just listen.
Yeah, you want to take your AirPod to the bathroom?
My headcanon for the Elijah, Moses, Jesus transfiguration is that was like a portal beyond time.
Yeah.
And that when Moses was seeing Jesus or the Lord's a fraction of the Lord's back or whatever, like that was the moment that also correlated with the transfiguration. And Elijah had a moment like that too. It's like, is this like something throughout time that? Yeah,
we've talked about that on the podcast. Like, were those moments all happening at a present time for those people? So, I mean, like, that's crazy. And that makes the most sense, honestly. That like,
it makes the most sense out of all, which doesn't seem possible.
Because God is capable of doing all that. I'm like, how cool is that God could just, and then they're looking at Moses. The disciples are looking at Moses in the middle of his ministry, in the middle of his journey. And like, I'm like, that's just wild to me. And I'm like, imagine if they heard, I mean, there's so much that didn't happen. I mean, they say many other miracles happened. Jesus said like, and it's like, they didn't write those down. I'm like, what were those other miracles? Like who knows? Like Jesus could have taken them behind a manger and showed him Mountain Dew from the future and just says, hey, this is just what it's going to be like in the future. I'm like, he could literally do whatever he wanted. Like he could just show them whatever. And I think that's like, we limit God too much. And that's the thing. It's like, we can question, we can throw out these theories, but as long as just how he ends the prayer, but Lord, let your will be done, not mine. We could always say, but God, let your thoughts come first, not mine. Let your theories, what you want, your plan come before mine, because it's like, we should be questioning, because we should be just opening our mind. It's not even questioning. It's just like questioning the possibilities. And I think once we do that, we could start seeing a little bit more of the character of God, because the gospel says he is a mystery, the mystery of the gospel. And it's like, there's so much that we don't know and that he's capable of. And I mean, it's completely logical that all these things could have happened, that he could have warped through time and made that all happen at once, because he sees our life not as we do, as one just linear line. It's all together. And so I think, I mean, it is a fascinating theory to think about on the transfiguration.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Josh.
And none of it should, or I don't think it does, diminish the truth of the gospel.
Not a chance.
The truth of it. Just because what I learned growing up is that if aliens do exist, why didn't Jesus die for them? And that was evidence that they didn't exist. I don't think that follows. And then there are other answers to that. And when you start piecing together all the other weird things that happen in the Bible, it all comes together and actually enhances, I would say, it enhances the gospel, because it's not about us anymore. Alberino has brought that up, where it's not our story, it's Christ's story. It keeps the focus on him instead of saying he did it all for us, which he did do it for us, but that's not the history. That's not the story of the universe. That's just what we get in the Bible.
And not to reference Blurry for like the sixth time on this podcast.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, how about you
podcast.
reference Ninjas of Butterflies every now and then? Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. But just they've got that quote in their intro about how many churches have a truncated view of the gospel. If you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that is so interesting to think about how within many churches, it's like they choose to dismiss what they don't understand. And I think it is very important to be questioning, to be grounded in, the truth of the gospel in the Bible, but not to just dismiss what you don't understand, and to be questioning and seeing the world. God is a mystery, and many churches would rather just put him in a box, in a sense. And I think we need to continue growing in our wisdom and knowledge of God. I mean, because we'll never stop being able to know him better, because he is that mystery and he is endless and infinite. So yeah, it's just I think when we have that boxed in view of God where we feel like we completely understand, there's always going to be part of God that we're missing. And I think that's why sometimes in churches we see churches do like one thing better than like another church, but yet there's another spot where they're not doing as well, is because they have that boxed in view of God.
Yeah. And I think just as soon as we pray that, like, we understand the basics of the gospel, but if we can earnestly just pray that God reveals things to us and just keeps our mind open, like, that'll happen. Walking in the Spirit is a huge thing, and it's essential. And I think that's part of it. Is James says, if we ask for wisdom, we will get it. And that's what I honestly pray that all the time. We're with this podcast, that is like, I'm so dumb and I have a very limited vocabulary. Don't agree to that, first of all. But it's one of those things where, like, if God can give us ideas or words to say or theories and just little tiny things that we can bring light to, it's like, how cool is that if he can use a dude like me and dudes like us, it's like, then that's great. Like, that's proof that God exists. If I can say something that kind of like make people think like, wow, that's actually a really good point, like, that's literally a miracle. So I mean, like, that's could not be done by me.
Andy, I have to apologize. I was agreeing in the sense that I feel the same way about myself. So.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I get it. You're trying to cover tracks. It's cool.
Back to go ahead, Zach.
I was going to say, should we get back to
I was going to say back to National Treasure. Yeah.
Taking a rabbit trail there.
Well,
the thing is, I've only seen National Treasure once, so it's been a long time. I should have rewatched it.
Did you only watch one or both?
I've seen what happens in the second one.
Kidnaps the President.
That's the one with John Wilkes Booth and his grandpa being interesting.
Okay, I'll have to watch it because they're coming out with a third one. Is that true?
Potentially.
Yeah.
I had it written down that the director said they were 100% going forward with the original. This was actually, this was May of last year, that they were 100% going ahead with the original cast.
2045.
But Cage said he was not returning. So I don't know.
Oh,
That's
you do it
lame.
Cage.
I know.
Without the
Well,
cage.
they also made the TV show. I don't know. Maybe Andy watched that.
They did, which was not good.
I only watched the first episode. It was pretty bad,
Mm.
but slightly adjacent to that.
Hey, we can just have Riley as the main character for the third
Yeah.
one.
Like Andy said, the Cage is the real deal for National Treasure. It's his movie. So at the end, closer to the end of the first one, they were in the underground massive tunnel area, and Riley jokes that the aliens helped build this. And again, that seems like a throwaway joke, but then when you get down this rabbit hole of how did the pyramids come to be made, or how did any of the other megalithic structures happen, it's like, could there, obviously it's a movie, it's all fiction, but like, it's one of those things that could lead you down that rabbit hole of, did the aliens help them? Not necessarily did they come down in their flying saucers and drop the boulders in place as per the blueprint of the people of Egypt or whatever, but it's more like, are there lost to time technologies of moving these large things that you've talked about and seem to be evident with just acknowledging that the pyramids exist. It doesn't seem possible to move things like that, to move the bricks and such, and to have them so specific in their detail. It's just crazy.
But also the functionality of the pyramid, like how it rings in an F sharp, 440 hertz. Like that stuff doesn't happen by accident.
Yeah, the frequency stuff.
How it's pointed to the true north.
Yeah.
Like it just, if you miss up a centimeter, a millimeter at the bottom, it's all screwed up at the top. Like it just doesn't make sense. And it doesn't, like, for a tomb to me, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like they're building all these shafts and everything.
The pharaohs had pretty big egos, but yeah, you're right. I don't think I think there's more to it than just a tomb.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, they've never found any evidence within the pyramids that it is a tomb. There's no hieroglyphics. There's nothing. Like, it was literally, looking at it, it looks like it was a functional piece of technology. Like it had a purpose for whatever.
Yeah, decode tombs. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Well,
You see that Mr. Beast video?
I was gonna say Mr. Beast just went into the pyramids for 100 hours or something.
Propaganda.
Trash.
I heard he rented a pyramid. Yeah.
He said like 9 times throughout the whole video, this wasn't built by the aliens. It's like, shut up, dude.
And the 6-year-olds who watch him are like, oh my gosh, they must not have been built by aliens.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does that. We're not going to go down the Mr. Beast rabbit hole. He's a crazy man.
It's money. It's money.
Is Mr. Beast on the government payroll?
I think I just saw a quote from him that said that he had to decide between his mental health and becoming Mr. Beast. And that's is that
good?
Oh no.
Worth the trade? I don't know.
I would say no. It's not worth
Sell my soul, but gain the world.
Where have I heard that before?
Easy choice.
The only other thing that I had about National Treasure was from the second one. Sorry, Andy, you're left out on this.
You're good.
But page 47 is the one thing that is left a mystery. It's supposed to tease the third movie, which, when did Book of Secrets come out? 2007.
Man.
It's coming up on like 20 years. I'm sure if they do release it, it'll be like 2027.
Nicolas Cage will come back. It's too much money.
He's gotta.
He's doing all the films now. Like he's like notoriously done so many films. He has to do it. People would love it.
It's not necessarily a legacy sequel. It's more like I actually really enjoy the Now You See Me movies, and there's 2 of those, and they're coming out with a third, I think, this year. And that's one that's just kind of a guilty pleasure, don't think about it too much type of movie, and it's so much fun.
But it's literally a crime that they didn't name the second one Now You Don't.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Instead of Now You See Me 2? Page
47 from the second movie is just meant to be like, this is from the president's secret book. And again, makes you think, does the president have a secret book? And when Ben finds it, he takes a picture of page 47 like the president told him to. And it's never revealed. I would like to think that they're going to go down. I don't want to say I want them to go down the Indiana Jones 4 rabbit hole of just make it into aliens. But the aliens trope could be used again. Secret history.
Oh, heck yeah.
The technology that they use or have been developing in Area 51, like what Bob Lazar talked about and all that stuff. Like, I would love for that to go that route, but it's mostly focused on Actually, no, they could keep it as American history because Eisenhower had that encounter with an alien, supposedly, all alleged.
Wasn't Trump number 47 president?
Yeah.
Oh, page 47.
Oh, time traveler.
Actually, the time travel stuff gets freaky. Like there's a, sorry, different rabbit hole. Anyways, the aliens for the third movie could be.
That's next pod. That's next episode for us.
Yeah. When they do a third one, we'll have you back.
Yeah, that would be sick if they went the alien route.
That'd be awesome.
I think that connection with the American history and the government I think that when I learned about Eisenhower, I was like, that seems so much closer to home. Like Area 51 always feels so far away and the things of the stories of the past. But then you have like, what did Eisenhower see? That was, it got under my skin a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. What made Jimmy Carter cry?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that one.
Did you guys know that story, right?
I know what you're talking about.
He asked for Jimmy Carter asked for like just the disclosure stuff on all the aliens, whatever, when he got into office. And apparently after they gave it to him, he was found in his stairwell with his head in his hands crying.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Okay. That's not terrifying.
What did you joke about? Like it was a picture of him or something like that? Like, bad drawings, just insults. Like Jimmy, you suck.
Jimmy Carter, you suck.
Oh no,
man.
It's like the Flynn Rider from Tangled. He's like, I just can't get my nose right, and he's just like, oh. Yeah. I think that's one reason. I'd like to believe that that's one reason we haven't been back to the moon is because they found something that wasn't meant to be known, at least not now.
Yeah.
My theory is that we were given the technology, but they just took it back, and we just don't have it anymore. Just like we can't build certain things or have ancient technology from the past, where it's like, why couldn't we do the pyramids today? It's like we literally don't know how they did it. It's like, oh, cool, maybe that's our own version of that. Who knows?
Yeah, I was just about to say another, like, I guess an interesting route they could go for a third movie if they were doing aliens. To reference your podcast, finally, in your episode last week, you talked about the suspicion that the reason we got to the moon so quickly is because the government reverse engineered alien technology.
Yeah.
And that's how we got there as quick as we did. So I think that could also be an interesting direction to go for a third National Treasure movie, just like dig into those secrets.
I mean, think of like Werner von Braun, right? So he was the director of NASA, Nazi rocket scientists. Nazis were known for the occult and supposedly reverse engineering alien technology, creating the UFO Bell and stuff that they supposedly discovered in Nazi Germany. And it's like, so you got a Nazi rocket scientist who we know that they were messing with some weird stuff, coming to the U.S., becomes director of NASA, and then we go to the moon, and then after he passes, we don't go to the moon anymore. So it's just like pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Wild.
It seems like we should be going to the moon a lot more space missions because we're in 2025. Shouldn't we? Like, we talk about how the space station or the first trip had less memory, I think, either memory or storage than our phones do.
Oh, no, then it was like a floppy disk, dude. It was like...
Yeah, it was tiny. But what we could do with that now is just crazy. And I think Elon, we love Elon, is doing stuff with his space stuff to possibly get people on Mars. I don't know what that's going to entail with like exploration and what we'll find out there, but like I think it's back in the people's eyes, back to something that we want. At least we've been told that we should want it.
Yeah,
I want it. I wanted to see people on the moon again, but
I mean, India went last year or 2 years ago. They landed on the dark side of the moon for the first time. It's like, why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we the first people on the dark side of the moon? It's like, no, it just doesn't make sense.
People are like, it's not the dark side of the moon. It's just the sun does shine on it. It's like,
Okay, yeah, but we don't see that side of the moon.
Come on.
So it's dark to us. And they always say like, well, we haven't been back because of like budgets and like it's too expensive. But yeah,
also like they're like, why go back? Like we don't need to go back. It's like,
yeah, but we also spend billions of dollars on Sesame Street for the Taliban. So
I've seen those. It's ridiculous.
But there is still aren't they still working on getting to Mars, or is that?
I thought that was Elon's
That's his whole
thing,
plan.
but-
He wants to inhabit, like by 2030, I think they want to inhabit, or
he
2029.
keeps bumping the year up. So,
Yeah, he always
Okay.
does. he's a dreamer.
But we can't go back to the moon.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
for real.
Ugh.
I mean, NASA. You should look it up, but I think NASA they're planning on sending astronauts to the moon. I thought it was like 2027
Really?
was the year.
Okay.
That'd be
Okay,
dope.
that would be
So-
fun.
Take a civilian. We're not going to believe
Signed
you.
up for that.
Yeah.
Send me
Yes. Hey NASA, send Andy to the moon.
while I'm
NASA
trained to be a
listens.
Freemason as well.
He's doing his homework
no.
as he's flying.
Do a podcast from the moon, guys.
Yeah, that's all I had for National Treasure. I did want to ask you guys about our. We said our favorite movies, but have you guys watched Arcane? I just had to ask.
No.
Arcane.
Oh man, that's one of our favorites.
If you guys need a good binge.
We have another Josh on our podcast who ran for hours about it. It's beautifully animated, similar to the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I've seen
And
it.
it just came out with season 2.
I've seen the trailer and stuff for it. The animation looks crazy on it.
Yeah, watch 3 episodes and you'll be hooked.
Or traumatized.
Or traumatized. Yeah, you'll be hooked or traumatized. It's one or the other.
Yep. Or both.
It has a tendency to do that.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
We've talked about stuff. Don't worry that it's League of Legends based. You don't need to know anything about League of Legends to enjoy it.
I don't know anything about League of Legends anyway, so it's perfect.
Me neither. Yeah. Anyways, we had talked about stuff like that with like in that story. There's the Arcane, which is like the big thing that's supposedly going to grow and expand their horizons, and yet some people are like, don't touch it. And that's how we brought up how it feels like AI right now, and how it's like, should we keep developing this or should we just shut it all down? Should we hit Sam Altman, who's the owner of ChatGPT? He has like a briefcase that he carries around to like nuke ChatGPT if something goes wrong. It's like, should we do that? I don't know. AI is pretty crazy right now.
There's too much money to be made.
Yeah,
Well, too much money, and also like you can't stop it. It's already going. The boulders started moving. So like, if the U.S. stopped it, China or whoever is going to keep continuing, and then all of a sudden,
World domination.
Yeah. It's like people have already had a taste of what they love.
Yeah.
Like they know AI is great. The capabilities of it, it's going to get better and better. So it's like, even if people did ban it or shut it down, it's like another country's going to do it. And we're all going to gravitate towards that. It's going to be
also I kind of
too late.
love AI.
It's great.
I use ChatGPT all the time.
You guys use it a lot.
I was actually going to say I used Google Gemini for the picture in the last quote that I posted.
of the
nice.
detective.
Yeah, the detective Danny Dingaling.
I didn't know. I thought it was just a generic photo, but then I saw in the background it said Dingling, and I was like, "That's pretty great. That's hilarious."
Yep.
Which we're continuing Dingling as a character. So
Okay.
Next week's episode.
next week's episode is pretty funny.
Maybe this is a spoiler, but is he played by Anthony Russo?
He
He
is.
is.
He's the man.
He is. Okay.
He's so
Yeah.
funny, dude. Anybody else could make us laugh like that so
I love
easily.
that.
When I saw that he had liked my post, I had a suspicion.
Yeah, he's the best.
That's funny.
I literally,
Okay.
I didn't preface him with anything except, hey, I'm calling you, pretending you're a PI, and you found
Roll with
Andy's
it.
dad. That's it. And so the rest of it was just all
Improv. He's a
him
genius.
coming up with it.
That's hilarious.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Quickly explain before we finish up about like in a paragraph what you guys. It should have been at the beginning, but I totally forgot. Ninjas Are Butterflies is the podcast. Sunday Cool is the t-shirt company, and then you guys still do Cool Carl. I don't know what
Every now and then.
Yeah, so Sunday Cool is just a apparel company, and we've been doing sketch videos, comedy videos through that company for a while because they just literally hire us to do their content and marketing, and so we've been doing that, and then now we have a podcast that's under Sunday Cool as well. So it's a lot of fun, conspiracies, comedy, Bible talk, and it's just we've been having a blast doing it, man.
And I would say, where can they find you? But I'm sure that it won't be hard to to find the number 32 comedy podcast.
Any Freemason
world,
lodge
so-
you walk into, you can.
Oh yeah.
Always
Find our-
streaming there. Yeah,
Yeah, your little brochure. Just pick it
we
up.
got to do it. We got to do an ad or something outside of a Freemason lodge.
Oh, heck yeah.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Push their buttons.
So, I guess as we're wrapping up, we like to always end our podcast with a question, and this movie's not as deep as most movies we talk about, so I don't know how great of an answer we're going to have. We might cut this segment if we don't really have good answers. But here's the question. Maybe, Andy, since you haven't seen the movie in a while, I don't know if
Well.
you're gonna have that great of an answer. But
Don't judge him before he gives the answer.
sorry. Where do you see God's fingerprints in National Treasure?
Besides the godlike features of Nicolas Cage's face.
Ooh, true.
That's true.
Yes, besides that. Oh, speaking of that, do you have the pillow with you?
Oh, let me grab it.
Yeah.
Where do I see God's fingerprints in National Treasure?
We got the question
Yes.
from Paul Acey from Plugged In. I had a conversation with him, and he brought up like God's fingerprints are kind of visible in everything, even if it's through our creativity. And that's a question we've been asking to wrap up a movie.
Years ago, unrelated. Years ago, I applied to be a reviewer of movies on PluggedIn.com, and they said no to me.
It is.
There he is.
Beautiful.
Wow. Oh no.
What's on the other
Yeah.
underside? Is it just pink?
Well, I think when we gave it to her, it was just the pink side, and so she was just messing with
It's not
it.
a double
Yeah.
gun.
I guess maybe I don't really know. I guess if you want to say like a fingerprint could be like just seeking truth. I don't know.
That's where my mind went. Just
Yeah.
as like just questioning, looking for more, looking
Yeah.
for the deeper answer.
I like that.
Yeah, because you know the truth, but then you could dig down deep into the details, and then that truth just becomes even more magnificent.
Yeah.
I mean, Zach, you're right. It's not that deep of a movie. It's really a shut your brain
No.
off and enjoy.
Neither of them are.
Yeah,
But,
but I agree. It's the if you're seeking truth, you'll find it. And the weaving of the story through the clues and the treasure at the end is telling. Where it's like you will find the treasure if you're seeking it. In our case, because that's what Christ promises. Like he's not avoiding you. He's not. If somebody's searching for truth, he's not going to not make himself known. Like even in the Middle East, when people have dreams about Jesus, it's like that's them seeking
wild.
truth. They want the dreams because that's effective on them. And Jesus is like, all right, I'll meet you where you're at. And that's just
You've been
that's
listening to a
amazing.
lot of Blurry, huh?
I've been catching, dude. I have like 2 more episodes before I'm completely caught up, and then
Oh dang.
I'll
That's wild.
stop talking about them. Zach, did you have a different answer? Or
I would say, yeah, I kind of just going along with that too, like how sacrificially Benjamin Gates was fighting for the truth to be known is kind of how sacrificially we should be fighting for the truth to be known, the truth of the gospel. You know, like in the movie, we see him doing like whatever it takes for the truth about his ancestor. It's a different ancestor in both movies, right? That they're talking about.
yes,
Are they talking about one of his
no.
ancestors? in the
One
first
was from Civil War. One was from the Revolutionary War. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you know, seeing him do whatever it takes to kind of reveal the truth about that ancestor, whether it's stealing the Declaration of Independence or kidnapping the president.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we'll ever have to do either for fighting for the truth as
never
a
know.
Christian.
What if it's already too late? What if I've already stolen the president?
Yeah, I don't know. Oh no.
Trump, get out of here.
Yeah, but just kind of that same attitude of, you know, like my life is not my own. My life is for the truth of God, and I'll do whatever it takes for that truth to be known.
Absolutely.
Do that.
And to quote Nicolas Cage in
stuff.
National Treasure, give me life or give me the Liberty Bell. That's what he said, right?
It's treasure in time.
It's treasure in time.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. It's such an honor.
Heck yeah,
Thank you
guys.
for taking an hour out of your day to talk with us. It's been a lot of fun. Appreciate it. And you can find Ninjas or Butterflies like everywhere. So
Everyone, just look around. Look right behind you.
yeah, they're in your closet.
Hey, buy their merch, guys. Go buy their merch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's got merch there. Buy our merch. I know it's not SundayCool.com.
You guys want to see a little sneak peek on what's coming out?
Yeah.
Oh
We
sure.
got some merch
When I
that's
was looking
dropping.
at my phone, it was literally our artist sent me this is a
Oh,
Oh nice.
cool.
little something, I don't
A
know.
little something, something.
Little dabble.
Yeah,
Cool. Well, we had fun, guys.
Yes,
Thank
thanks so
you.
much for having us. Let's do it again.
of course.
15 years when the third one comes out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Watch or follow us on all our socials and share with a friend. Until next week, know that you're loved. God bless.
Thanks for watching, Mom.